studies, the math, the language, the writing, the reading, the health studies, the music, physical education, and even computers, you have to acknowledge that God, the power source of the universe, made it all possible. And by doing so, by acknowledging him, according to Proverbs 1, verse 33, you will be safe and secure and without fear of disaster. Our learning for all of us as Christians starts with being able to say, the presence of the Lord is here. Solomon goes on later in the Proverbs to say in chapter 3, verse 13, that happy is the man that finds wisdom and the man that gets understanding. Now, I don't think that means that getting ready for school and going to school will make you wise or help you understand all that's going on in the world today. But I do believe that school is a very necessary part of our growth toward knowledge and understanding and eventually wisdom. It's instrumental in our development. For students, school is your first job. I've told students all over Prince George's County where I work that people come to school for 3 reasons. First is to learn. And learning is anything that you find out today that you didn't know before. The second reason is to get an education. Education is the formal part of learning. It's your classes, the science, social studies, reading, writing, math, PE, music class, etc. The third reason people come to school is to have fun. And that takes a lot of students, when I share that with them, it takes a lot of students by surprise, but it's fun to grow your brain. It's fun to interact with others and with your friends. It's fun to go on a new adventure 5 days a week. The more adventures you go on, the more you learn, the more education you get, and the more fun you have. There's a developmental design that I've studied and that I help students and teachers learn in Prince George's County about, called the Circle of Courage. 2 of the main spots on the Circle of Courage are places called mastery and independence. To put it simply, the more good choices we make in and about our learning and participation in school, the more mastery and independence we develop. Our brains get bigger, we get smarter, and we learn how to solve challenges better on our own. Mastery and independence. So I want to encourage you to grow your brain. And grown-ups, that's why we are lifelong learners who continue to learn new things on our jobs, take classes, learn new concepts, watch documentaries, or do Bible study. We all should be lifelong learners. So Pearl, I want to know that it impressed me last week when you shared about learning new computer concepts. It shows your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren that you are a lifelong learner. And of that, you should be proud. Now, as we get older, some of us, sometimes our memory doesn't stay as sharp as it used to be. Sister Karen and I both work in Prince George's County, and we talked yesterday about the possibility of starting out in school and possibly having to go back to virtual due to the spread of the COVID virus. Nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. None of our children under 12 years old have been okayed for the vaccine yet. So if there are any grown-ups who haven't been vaccinated yet, my encouragement to you is to do so. This week coming up, the FDA might give full approval for the use of the vaccines, not just emergency provisions, and that might help. But we face these challenges best when we educate ourselves about the science of these situations and use our faith as a rock to stand on. That's why I appreciate Sister Helen picking the verses that she picked this week. She shared her thoughts with me about a couple of these scriptures, and we can all use these scriptures to prepare ourselves to be ready for school. One comes from the mind of King David, who sang after the Lord had protected him in a conflict, and as was read earlier. 2 Samuel chapter 22, verses 2 and 3 read, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my protector, the rock where I am safe, and my place of shelter. He is my shield and my refuge. Lord, you keep me safe and from being hurt." It's our faith in the Lord, combined with our knowledge and our learning and our understanding and the wisdom that we develop, that will help us to meet the challenge of this new round of the pandemic. God made COVID, yes, and he also made masks and vaccines. Another key scripture we can all use to anchor ourselves is from the verse that we heard read earlier from 2 Timothy. In chapter 1, Paul wrote to his friend Timothy that even though he was in jail, and he was encouraged nonetheless. And he mentioned in verse 7 that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but rather the Spirit provides us with power, love, and a sound mind. This is an anxious and challenging time. Summer is coming to a close. Fall will soon be here. Young and old alike, we need to be ready for school. So let's prepare ourselves. We need to get ready to do a lot of listening carefully and be ready to ask good questions. The book of James makes it clear why we have twice as many ears as we do mouths. We need to be excited and ready to see all our friends, old and new. Be ready to learn, seek education, and have fun. And study. Study ourselves. Study our lessons. Study the Word. And study our world. There's a lot we need to pay attention to as we get ready for school. Depending on your age, your grade, or your interests, it might be important for you to find out just where Afghanistan is, what other countries it's next to, and why the United States has been there for 20 years. It might be good for you to know where Haiti is, or to know the name of the island that it's a part of, and what other country shares that island. It might be useful to know where Zimbabwe is, and who the leader of that country was so many years. And if you know anybody from Zimbabwe, you might want to ask them, why did you leave Zimbabwe and come to the United States? Depending on whether you're in elementary or middle school or high school or college, or you're a lifelong learner,